Are we live?
Yes, we are live now.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Khan. Welcome, everybody, to this month's community call. Today, I'm very happy that we're having with us Patrick. Patrick Sambao is joining us straight from Kenya, talking about the work that is happening in the Africa region right now. Next slide, please. Well, in case you haven't watched those calls, my name is Kostadina, and I'm a program manager in the community programs teams. This call is to help you understand what is happening around the world of Mozilla and the world of Mozilla communities. So we are bringing interesting topics around the Mozilla organization, and of course, interesting other open source interesting topics that we're collaborating with. Today, as I said, Patrick is joining us from the Africa Mradi team. He is in the Africa Innovation, and he's going to talk a little bit about what is the work there, and particularly what is happening with the Africa Innovation Week that just finished down in Kenya. Next slide, please. But a little bit what is new with the community. These calls happen the last week, the last Thursday of every month. And again, the goal is to help you learn about what's happening in Mozilla. Next slide, please. So we invite everybody to be here. And if you have any questions and you're watching this live, feel free to actually ask those questions on the live stream, like on the YouTube chat, and I will be the moderator and bring those questions to Patrick. If you're interested in other topics, you can join the various topics that Mozilla worked on responsible AI, MDN web docs, and also even give ideas on Mozilla products via a monitor tool. Next slide, please. And apologize for that. My internet is not at its best today. It rained where I am. But before I give the floor to Patrick, if you're interested in learning more, you can subscribe to our newsletter, where you will receive interesting news on what is going around Mozilla world, and you can learn how the opportunities you want to contribute, that like responsible AI that I've talked about, on mozilla.org/contribute. If you want to join other people, feel free to join us in Matrix on the community room. The link is over there, so feel free to copy that and come and join us. Just a reminder, all our rooms are under community participation guidelines in Mozilla, which means that we like to have a respectful space and be nice to each other. So just a small reminder that we abide from the community participation guidelines. And without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Patrick. So if you can share Patrick's slides now, and he's going to take us over to the Africa work happening in Africa.
Thank you, Konstantina. Khan, could you take me to the very, very first slide, number 1 slide, the first slide? Super. So my name is Patrick Sambao, as Konstantina introduced me as. I serve Africa Mradi. I sit in Nairobi, and our job is basically to see how Mozilla can show up in Africa. From a day-to-day basis, we are exploring product use cases, looking at Pocket, looking at Firefox and other products, including the hubs and the rest, to see the possible use cases that for those products here in this side of the world, we call it the global majority. Many also call it or refer to it as a global south. So yes, as I said, I sit in Nairobi. Next slide, please. So we embarked on a journey about 1 year ago into community building work. And I'll explain a bit of these and why we're really, really keen. Well, we have been keen in building communities within our territory or where we operate from. The first one is, of course, to create awareness around Mozilla products and also Mozilla's work. And I'll give an example. Most people know Mozilla no Mozilla through Firefox or for Firefox, just for the browsing B2B, but they do not know that Mozilla, of course, has certain values that are key to its heart. So this is, ethical computing, responsible AI, the humanity bit of computing that Mozilla is really keen on. And therefore, then part of our work includes bringing these out beyond Firefox. What else does Mozilla do? So bringing these out through organizing workshops, trainings, and I'll get a bit into that, and other activities that create awareness. The second one is thought leadership. Of course, in this side of the world, big tech comes in and they're fast, and on entry, the first thing they're pushing, or the front they have, of course, is technology only. And the humane side of technology is never ever a factor or considered. It's not a thing that anyone pushes or advocates for in this side of the world, and therefore then Mozilla wants to take lead, in some of these issues, in fronting them and doing something about it, and especially advocating that the internet is a tool that can be used for good beyond other developments, including in the financial sector, in the technology sector, in the health sector, and even agriculture. It can also be used for good. And lastly, it is to catalyze innovation in the continent. And this is through, of course, working in the tech innovation ecosystem, where we work with various partners, including organizing or putting together innovation weeks, innovation challenges, hackathons, and other activities. However, the anchoring mantle that we use, rather that stays in our minds, is leaving no one behind, and especially because one of Mozilla's manifesto speaks about using this space to provide equal opportunity to everybody. The internet should be used to as a tool should be accessible by anybody who needs it as a tool, to advance their life or better their lives. Next slide, please. That is the reason as to why we are engaged in community building. So how do we do it? So we work with relevant stakeholders. Number one, we work with government, we work with non-governmental organizations as well. We work with academia, so these are universities, and maybe I'll delve a bit into this. That if you look at all innovations in this side of the world, they stem from university students. If you look at the techies that are coming through the pipeline, they are currently in university, and therefore then if we're going to have any impact, it is best done if you engage the upcoming generation or the next generations into understanding or inculcating the humane bits of technology. And maybe I can give an example of one of the initiatives that we're currently doing with the universities in Africa or Kenya. We are currently training lecturers, computer science lecturers, IT lecturers, on the humane side of computing. For example, getting them to understand that you can adapt some of these values into your day-to-day lectures with the students, so that then the students understand these. In Kenya, we, for example, had an issue, a very, very big issue. You do know that I think Kenya is among the world's largest adopters of mobile money. And therefore, that means then that things like fraud, mobile money fraud come about. And these come about because you have this group of students, hundreds of millions of them, who are exposed to technology, and now they're using it to commit, to hack into banks, to hack into telcos, and the rest of it to access money. So then we feel that starting here, the academia will, of course, yield good fruits. Then another partner is, of course, telco. This is basically the mobile network operators. The main reason for this is because Africa is a mobile continent, meaning that the main connectivity tool in the continent is the mobile phone, anchored on telco products. So telcos are the ones that sell data in this side of the world. They're also the ones that provide a lot of, say, fiber connectivity and internet connectivity. Over 90% of people who consume internet in this continent or in Africa consume it through their mobile phones. or through telco products, data telco, telco products offered by telcos, and therefore then they're a key partner in fronting or advancing our agenda as partners. Then lastly, we have tech hubs. So tech hubs are what you'd call the go-to institutions, in and around technology innovation. Anything that has to do with innovation in the continent, tech hubs have a big role to play in it, and therefore then we work with them as a partner, mostly because anybody who is interested in technology, majority of them, you'll find them in tech innovation hubs, where there are communities where they can find their peers, they can find a lot of knowledge, they can find opinion leaders, they can find experts who they can mingle and interact with. And therefore, tech hubs are a key partner in as far as our work is concerned. Next slide, please. Okay, so frontier innovation ecosystem. So I think this slide repeated itself, but next slide, please. Speak about frontier. So we have a key focus to focus in the frontier or rural areas, and I'll explain that, and I'll explain why rather. If you look at Africa, 80% of the population that lives in this continent lives in the rural areas. Therefore, then there's need to see or explore ways and means of bringing the populations that live in rural areas on board. And I started with saying that we have a guiding mantle, that we leave no one behind. If you look at a lot of African countries, and especially Sub-Sahara, you'll find that a lot of, over 90% of, technology innovation ecosystem activities happen in and around the cities. And therefore then, meaning we're leaving behind 80% of the population who might be interested in technology, who are looking, for ways and means to break into this tech world, for information, for relevant peers, for experts and other resources that they need to be able to sufficiently break into the ecosystem or access resources that are available in the ecosystem. 70% of the population is also under 30 years old, meaning that these are young people, energetic, creative, ambitious, inspired. Majority of them, and especially in my country, Kenya, are passionate about technology. And therefore, then we cannot ignore that fact. And therefore, then a lot of our activities are in and around working with the youth who are 30 years old by default, because of the majority. In how they can be nurtured, how they can be mentored into technology or working in the technology space. Majority of them are looking for information. As I said earlier, the uptake currently, the uptake of mobile phones, especially in Kenya, is about it's almost 70%, meaning almost everybody has a mobile phone, and this is a smartphone, and therefore it's a tool that we want to use or leverage on to reach to these young people with all the resources we have. And by resources, I mean resources and
Apologies, everybody. I think Patrick had some connectivity issues. Patrick, we lost you there when you were. Yeah, we can hear you now. We lost you there when you were talking a little bit about the African population being very young and eager to learn.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll take it from there again. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I lost connection. So I was just saying that, 80% of the population, 70% of the population is relatively young. They are below 30 years, and they are really interested in technology. By default, it is a point of, it's a source of information. It is where they get a lot of, entertainment. If they want to listen to music, that's where they go to. And therefore, by default, they're therefore interested in technology. We can therefore not ignore that it is a tool of empowerment for them. And therefore, we're very keen working with this young population, again, 70% of whom or 80% of whom live in the rural areas. Then lastly, to democratize the innovation space. I began by saying that a lot of innovation work, especially tech innovation, currently exists in the urban areas, and therefore no, we don't see a lot of work being put in by governments or other organizations, or even other big tech organizations, in working with in the rural ecosystem and exploring what is there. So as Mozilla, as Africa Mradi, we are very keen in looking at what we can do in the rural areas. Next slide, please. And therefore, we have a program known as Mozilla Mashinani. So Mashinani means rural areas, or in other words, you can call it the village. So we recently rolled out a program known as Mozilla Mashinani that aims at empowering innovators who live in the rural areas. And I think I just explained that. And then what do we do with them? So this is now the first community. I'm getting into among the communities we work with. So this is the first community. We have the Mozilla Mashinani community, comprised of youth or innovators living in the rural areas. So among the things we do with them, number one is we train them on investor readiness. And this is basically how to engage with investors who are interested in putting money in their startups. We help them to structure their innovations in a way that they look attractive to stakeholders that they may engage, from people who are interested in uptaking their products or consuming their products, to investors and other stakeholders. This also means helping them to package the innovation, to communicate efficiently with people who are interested in some of the work that they're doing, to articulate clearly, the solutions that they are bringing on board, through their startups or through the innovations or through the work that they're doing in and around technology. Then lastly is to help them to be able to, come up with very, very good top-notch pitching abilities. And this is key for us because, some of us can express ourselves in English very well, but then people who live in rural areas in Africa, unfortunately, cannot do this. So we do a lot of work in helping them to express themselves, especially in English, while it might be the first language or first. Let me use language here. For most of us, or for most people in Africa, most of us we have our mother tongue, which of course supersedes, which we use most of the time. So English is second or third to us. Therefore, then we feel there's need to help them to bring them up to speed in pitching, and especially English, because it's spoken widely and across the globe. Next slide, please. So we actually piloted this Mozilla Mashinani initiative by going to a county, one of the frontier counties in Kenya. So this is, if you have heard Rift Valley in Kenya, so this is where most of the marathoners come from. And so we did go out there to carry out a small innovation week, rather a small innovation tech challenge to test it out. So we sent out a call for applications, and we got around 200 applicants. If you could quickly take me to the next slide, I can show you the numbers of the outcome of that work. So we got about 205 applicants. We shortlisted 70 who came in. Out of the 70, about 52 were qualified to pitch, meaning by the time they came to us, we gave them some training, and only about 52 of them were able to build pitch decks, pitch in under 7 minutes, and they were willing to actually present their ideas to a jury. We got 7 winners, and the previous slide basically was a photo taken at the end of that event. It was a one-day event with the winners, and we gave out grants worth I think about $10,000 to the seven winners who shared that grant. Next slide, please. This is basically a breakdown of the startups who won. So the first one, of course, was in transport and logistics, agri-tech, service industry, health tech, media and entertainment. We're basically trying to look at a diversity of innovations that are coming from these rural areas, and therefore we got quite a number of applications and even pitches, and in picking the winners, we're trying to come up with with a diverse representation of the various themes in innovation. Next slide, please. Okay, so we do understand that one of the biggest gaps we have, and especially as Africa Mradi, is capacity of training. There's only a few of us. I think we are a 4-member team, and therefore it becomes a challenge for us to be able to train about Mozilla products. This is, Hubs, Firefox, Common Voice, and other products. We get stretched too thin, and therefore then we decided to create or establish a community of students who can become advocates of Mozilla products, and we already started that. The product teams for for Firefox, Pocket, and Common Voice were gracious enough to come and train students about our products. Next slide, please, as I take you through the numbers. And this happened in the last 1 month. So we have lean data practice, which basically speaks about data protection, cybersecurity, and other aspects. We had, I think, 130 attendees who attended this training, moderated by Neka Soyinka from the policy team. We had 58 attending the Pocket training. We had 52 who attended the Firefox training, and 74 for the Common Voice. Now, all of these are actually students who are interested to learn more about Mozilla products, how they work, how they can participate. And we were not really shocked, but we did appreciate that students were learning for the first time that Mozilla, all of these products were open source. So it was a pleasant surprise for us to be able to explain that to them, and for them to learn that, and also see how they can partner with us or even participate in adding a lot of more value in building, customizing some of these products, especially using Firefox extensions. We had quite a bit of them really interested in working to perhaps customize their own browsers for their own communities. Some of them, into even their languages, etc. But that's the outcome of that we're looking to create student communities that then become advocates of our products, and they help us, as far as we're only 4, therefore they come in handy to help us spread the message across. I did say, most people know Mozilla for Firefox as a browser and nothing else, and therefore, these student communities will be good ambassadors to carry the message forth to a lot of people. We're looking to have that kind of impact. Next slide, please. So then after we did that small test in the rural areas, we then did invite applicants from across the continent. We floated a Tech Innovation Challenge to quite a number of countries in Africa, rather let me say all over Africa, and we got 580 applicants who applied to this challenge. We had a rough time shortlisting the first 70 who came to Nairobi to pitch for the first, let me call it a semi-final. We then shortlisted 22 qualified to come in and pitch at the main event. Now, the main event was held just about 2 days ago, so Monday and Tuesday this week. We hosted, the tech, we're calling it the Mozilla Innovation Week, which was held in Nairobi. We had 400 people attending on both days, on Monday and on Tuesday, or 26th and 27th. And these 22 startups who qualified to pitch came in to pitch to the audience who attended, this Innovation Week. Now, this was the culmination of, having done some work and activation in and around Kenya's rural areas. So this was sort of like an icing. The event was an icing of the cake of what we're calling the Innovation Week. Next slide, please. So this is basically the day when they came into Nairobi to pitch. The 70, or rather, the 100 people, the 100 startups came to Nairobi to pitch and to explain the ideas to the rest of them. Next slide, please. We did have 6 winners, at our innovation challenge. And these winners came from the 22 who pitched. Among the 22 who pitched was a 15-year-old who really requested to be allowed to come in and pitch. And the reason for this, I'm calling this an exception, was because the competition was, limited to adults or 18-year-olds and above. However, we did get an application from this 15-year-old, the one who is on your screen right now, who actually emailed several times requesting to be given an opportunity. We did, sit with the legal team, the policy team, to understand how we'll make this possible. We finally came up with a way out, and this 15-year-old did come, and pitch his ideas. And what grew out of this, or came out of this, is that that innovation is not limited to age. And she came in and did a good job, gave a good account of herself. And we therefore then saw that, there's need to go slightly, below colleges and go into high schools as well and see what is there, see if we can work with students who are interested in technology right from the high school level. And these students inspired us to be able to explore those opportunities. So we are also working to build communities in high schools that can then become, great ambassadors of the technology sector itself, and also Mozilla as an organization, and the products, or rather the activities that Africa Mradi is engaged in within the continent. So that's another set of community that we're looking to start working with, just inspired by this 15-year-old. Next slide, please. On Sunday, just before we kicked off the Innovation Week, we did sign a product endorsement or ambassadorship deal with Eliud Kipchoge. If you've never heard him, he's the world marathoner. And therefore, we were really happy to sign him on. And the reason for this was in looking at athletics as a community, athletes as a community that we can build to catalyze innovation across the country. And then perhaps I could explain how this works. So we have these athletes who earn millions of dollars from competitions. These Kenyan athletes, that is, earn millions of dollars across competitions in the world, but they have nowhere to invest that money. So as Mozilla, we are currently working with these athletes to create a community of athletes who are willing to invest in tech innovation. And so this means training them on how, say, for example, venture building works, training them on what is venture capital, training them on what is the startup ecosystem. What do you get when you invest in startups? How does it even work? So exposing them to this, tech startup ecosystem. So then one of the gaps we have in Africa is, of course, capital. And we have such individuals as Eliud who are really keen and interested in investing in technology. Another reason is because Eliud Kipchoge himself is an avid reader, and he has expressed interest in Pocket, and mostly because where he comes from is an area that is really rural and cut off from a lot of a lot of from connectivity, that is mean electricity, from the electricity grid, and even from the internet grid itself. And therefore, then we see an opportunity for him being an ambassador for Pocket, for people who are interested in accessing, content, especially in areas where connectivity is a problem. Pocket then solves that problem. So he's a perfect fit for an ambassador, in that aspect. Next slide, please. So then we're also working to build non-tech communities. So these are communities, these are people who are somehow related to technology, but not directly. Let me say they are indirectly related to the tech work that we do. So on your screens, what you see right now are women known as the Kalenjin. They come from the Kalenjin community. They had provided us with gift packs for their attendants, and what one of them is holding is a gourd. So this is where milk is preserved to be consumed later on. You can see Lindsay and our CEO there who were on stage with them at the Innovation Week. So we thought to bring them on board to attend the event, because everybody who was at our event, got a gift pack that was a gourd. And so they were very, very happy to see where their work was going. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. Besides the Kalenjin women, we also had Maasai women who had, brought in handmade lanyards. I don't know whether you can see clearly, but these women, we also brought them on board to see, their work. So these women are beaders, and as opposed to having fabric-made lanyards to hold the tags, we got these women to bead, to do some beautiful beadwork to hold the tags. And maybe if you move to the next slide, we might be able to see some of the work that they did. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So on the screen is my colleague Noemi, who is the program manager for Africa Mradi, as well as Brittany Crooks. On their necks, you can see the lanyards that these women made, very, very beautiful. And so they were really happy to also see these lanyards on people's necks. So among the work we do in those communities is working with schools and colleges. We call them vocational colleges within those regions where the women come from. We work with them to, number one, educate them about the internet, what it does, the dangers, the advantages, basically everything that they need to learn about the internet as connectivity becomes available in the areas where they live. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is another image of the lanyard. So all of our executives did have those lanyards. Now, why we're calling them non-tech communities, so it's because these communities don't have much to do with technology, but Mozilla or Africa Mradi is actually doing work with those communities, going beyond the technology work we're doing, just to see what else lies in those communities and how can we support. So it was really refreshing to pay these women to work on these lanyards and support that community beyond just providing technology support to those communities. It was refreshing to go beyond and provide them with some jobs. They spent, I think, about 3 weeks preparing these lanyards for the event, and they really appreciated that opportunity. Next slide, please. The next slide, please. I think we're stuck. Can you hear me? Could you take us to the next slide?
And we're on slide 28.
Thank you. And so the anchoring objective of all the work that we're doing is to create one happy, smiling faces, one happy people through, establishing communities and supporting communities. And I think I'll stop there so we can perhaps get questions or any feedback. For information on what we do,
Patrick, you're kind of breaking up for us here. Can you hear us? I think we have some connectivity issues with Patrick. We apologize for that. Internet can be a challenge. I think he's reconnecting, so give us a second. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions, do let us know on the chat.
Sorry, I'm back. I'm struggling with connectivity, but I am back. Thank you, Constantine.
Hey, Patrick.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. No problem. You were cutting off on how people can connect with you. We didn't hear that part.
Yes, thank you. I was saying that we have a couple of ways through which we can be connected. And number one, we do have a Discord channel, and I think I'll share the link to Constantine, who can share it with the rest of the team. Number two, we have a Twitter handle, which is Mozilla_Africa. We're also on Facebook on Mozilla Space Africa. So a lot of our activities are displayed or posted on those channels. And for the Discord channel, we recently opened it, but we intend to use it to become a space where various communities within Mozilla can access the work that we're currently doing, and also receive exchange information, exchange peer-to-peer learning on how various people are running the communities. I mean, we just started, so we're eager to learn, and we're also eager to share insights. And then Discord is, I'll share the Discord channel through which we shall also be posting all of the interventions or activities and initiatives that we are currently doing in this side of the world. A lot of videos and images that we have taken along the way will be posted on that Discord channel very, very, very soon. I think even starting this coming week.
Awesome. One question I have, Patrick. Right now, your work is focusing in Kenya and East Africa. Are there any plans to expand in other parts of Africa in the future?
Yes, of course. So we are working actually in all of in quite a bit of the continent, but this is on need basis. Perhaps I'll give an example of we're doing some work in a country known as Zambia. It is in Southern Africa. We visited, we had attended an event there, and then we're interested in working with as I did say, vocational institutions. So we went to one of the universities that is a tech vocational institute, and we did find that students there, for example, go home very late, 11 p.m. after school. And so the principal of the university, did tell us that students stay late in school because they want to stay in the library and read, because they do not have internet connectivity at home. So they stay in school because there's Wi-Fi. So we're already working to see whether pockets can be used to build a virtual, sort of like a virtual library where these students can come to school, bookmark, various sets of content that they can consume when they go back at home, meaning they can actually now go back home early enough, as opposed to staying in school up to 11 p.m. to do assignments or just study. So we're working in various other countries on need basis. And I'll just give an example of one of the ways that we are one of the projects that we're engaged in Zambia. So we definitely I have others in the pipeline in Ghana, Nigeria, and Tanzania. And also, looking to work with others. So we're not only limited to working in Kenya, we are open to work across the continent, but it is on need basis, especially when there's a real use case for one of the products, like the one I just gave about Pocket. I do know that the Common Voice team of the MOFO Mozilla Foundation are working in other countries, Rwanda, Congo, and Tanzania as well. So there's quite some work going on beyond Kenya as well.
Sounds great. Let me check if there are any other questions for you. Otherwise, I will ask questions because I'm very curious. We don't have any questions. A lot of people are watching this afterwards. In some part of your presentation, you talked a lot about how English is not the first language for a lot of people, and how you also help them learning this. What about French, knowing that, or Arabic, knowing that North Africa has a big Arabic population, and also West Africa has a big French population? I remember there is a big community in Mozilla Cameroon, for example, that back in the days in Cote d'Ivoire, they were communicating with us in French.
Well, yes, you're right. Actually, almost quite a number. I mean, the country with the largest French speakers in the world is actually, I think, in Africa, Congo, that has millions and millions of French speakers. And so we are also working there, but not really around French. But what we do is engage partners within those countries, within the French-speaking Francophone countries, so to speak, that speak French. So we work in those countries through partners. And maybe I can give an example. For example, in Congo, we are working with a publishing partner who is into translation of French to, for example, sign language. So it's a startup that's working to translate sign language to text in French. And so we're working with them through partners. So we don't have any inhibitions in as far as working in the Francophone countries, because the model here is to work with partners who live there, work with communities that live there, or organizations that exist in those countries to basically execute whatever we need to execute, including, like what I've just explained, startups that are a startup that is working to translate or convert sign language into text. So we're not inhibited or limited to work with English only. We also have projects and activities in Francophone Africa.
Awesome. And one last question. You have gave us a very nice extensive presentation on what happened in the Innovation Week. Should we expect an Innovation Week happening every year? What is the plan for this kind of event?
As I did say earlier, the focus is now to work with the rural populations because they're the majority. So this is going to happen. There are going to be many smaller ones that have, consist of 200 people, 300 people within what we call the counties within Kenya. And this is also a model that we want to take across the continent, to not only go to a country and work in the capital city, but to go and start work within the rural area. So we might not do a tech innovation challenge or innovation week as big as the one we did in Nairobi, but we are definitely going to be working to do smaller innovation challenges across the continent in the smaller, let me call them the smaller towns or the smaller cities. So that is already in the pipeline. We're actually just concluding on the schedules of the countries that we will be considering. But the criteria is basically Africa's key markets. So you're talking about Tanzania, you're talking about Nigeria, you're talking about Ghana, Senegal, and some South Africa. So all of these countries are in the pipeline for us to be able to work with the rural areas in those countries. So while there's going to be an innovation week, perhaps every 2 weeks, for example, the next one might be in Lagos in 2026. There's going to be a lot of activities around the rural areas in most of these countries.
Amazing. Let me check if we had any questions. No, we don't. Well, thank you very much, Patrick, for joining us. Please pass me the Discord link so I can add it on the description. Thank you, everybody who watched this or who are going to watch this. Yes, we will bring more news from the Africa region as more initiatives are coming from Patrick and the team. And we're very happy that we got to host you. And thanks a lot, Khan. Khan has been our silent AV support. Who has helped us today with recording and streaming this. Bye, everyone. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, Constantina. Looking forward to engage with everybody on Discord and other social media channels that Africa Mradi has.